Jim, this email was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com by Scott Edis, Nottingham, UK. Jim and Brian, don't know what they are feeding the talent over there in Tonyland, but this is the best one yet. Does he really believe what he is saying? Jim, you know him. Is he really this delusional? I have an article here.
I need to have some details here.
The article is from Wrestling News Source, established 2006, whoever this may be. Chris Jericho responds to please retire chants and reflects on AEW's biggest feuds. Apparently he did an interview with Chris Van Vliet on the fan perception of the Jericho Vortex. Here's a quote. It's funny how I've become public enemy number one as a heel, by the way. Isn't that kind of the idea? Aren't you supposed to be public enemy number one as a heel? Aren't you supposed to not like somebody's character when that character is a heel? Maybe I'm actually smarter than everyone.
Oh boy.
And I'm manipulating people to what I want them to do. Well, fuck off. Just retire already. It's like, okay, doesn't that make you mad? According to the article here, Jericho pointed to his strong TV ratings, adding...
What? He's just on a show that lost 250,000 fucking viewers.
What I look at is the ratings. And 9 times out of 10, my segments always go up. And they're still some of the biggest ones on the show. So that tells me that whatever it is I'm doing is working. I'm a bad guy on the show.
We just went over the ratings. Were any of the segments that he was in up from the previous segment? I thought that was only MJF and Farquhar.
Well, first of all, we do the ratings every week, and if there was a big jump for a Jericho segment, we would point it out. We've joked about the fact that he's no demo god any longer. He hasn't really done on AEW TV too much beyond these short comedy segments, the New York Minute. It's not even a full segment usually. Now it was this week, and the rating went down. And then he killed the next segment. That's the thing we always talked about. Every Jericho segment was so bad, it would kill the next segment. But I guess he's saying that his segments are up. It's not the way I remember it. But the idea that he's a heel and that please retire chants are a good thing for a heel to get. What do you think of that?
No. Because the please retire chants that were directed at him were like, we don't want to see more of this. The things that you're doing are not pleasing us. It's not like booing. Nobody's chanting, please retire at Dominic Mysterio. Nobody's chanting, please retire at Solo Sikoa.
It's not a chant you hear very often, actually, ever.
No, and not the heels that are drawing money today in the wrestling industry or are being featured and are very heelish in nature are nobody's saying, please retire. They're just booing them because they're bad guys, not bad performers.
Well, let's go back to some of the quotes here in this article. The so-called Jericho Vortex. I always loved the concept of the Jericho Vortex. I think that was our concept, by the way. Thank you, Chris.
Trademarked it.
And how anybody that works with me gets dragged down. Name one person that got dragged down from working with me. Maybe afterwards they don't go higher, but that's not up to me. I'm not in charge of booking the entire company. So now he's throwing Tony under the bus.
Yeah, I do the best I can, but as soon as they're out of my hands, Tony's going to kill him again.
According to the article here, he gave credit to the wrestlers he's worked with, pointing out how people like MJF, Sammy Guevara, and Danny Garcia.
Oh, now, wait a minute. So MJF is colder than he's ever been. Sammy Guevara is not allowed on mainstream television, and Danny Garcia has been pushed down our throats and is yet to sell, 15 cents in Chinese money worth of tickets.
And by the way, where is he? Is he on Collision? Is that why we haven't seen him on Dynamite? Not that I'm asking for more Daniel Garcia.
I didn't want to stir anything up while everything was going smoothly.
Here's another quote from Jericho. I think Big Bill and Brian Keith have grown by leaps and bounds from working here with me. I'm not going to go through the entire cast of characters, but I definitely know what my intentions are, and it's not to bury anybody. It's to build as many people as I can and give them the experience so that they can learn how to start shouldering things on their own. Let's stop there.
He's a very beneficent man.
Even if his intentions are right, the problem again goes back to the execution. If your idea was, I'm going to elevate Daniel Garcia and Anna Jay and Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, you did a comedy angle where they were doing fake sounding promos that didn't get over. That's not how you help talent, by having them be the ancillary characters in your bad comedy segments. So, any thoughts on that?
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, it's so sick. When you're not only doing this silliness, but you're changing your shit all the time, trying to stay ahead of the fucking law, and you keep drawing these underneath guys in to be the stooges around your Ted Healy, it's not doing anything for him. He put Action Andretti over. Where's he? He never got any other push ever again. He just did it so that he could say, look, I'm putting the young guys over.
No, then we saw him with Leo Rush a few months back wearing big coats, and we said, oh, what are they doing? And then we never saw them again.
Yeah. But that's the thing with Chris. You can't just take these young guys that, he'd be a funny sidekick for whatever reason, and put them in a group like that and expect they're going to be learning at the highest level of what goes on in the wrestling business. I'm sorry.
Jericho revealed that while he might suggest opponents, it's primarily AEW president Tony Khan who decides who Jericho works with. Quote, I don't choose anything. I might have a suggestion, but most of the time it's Tony coming up with who he wants me to work with. He gave the example of his feud with Mark Briscoe, explaining, both of us wanted to work with each other and knew we could have some great matches. I loved working with Mark, and what a great kind of mini feud. Or, I guess it was a feud. It was a couple of months long, so that was something that we both wanted to do and suggested to Tony. But most of the time, this whole thing that started working with Rated FTR, that was Tony's idea. So yeah, I still work for my boss, and I have never once, as far as I can remember, in the 6 years I have been in AEW, ever said no to something. So let's stop there. Should Jericho say no?
Oh boy, yeah. If this is the result of him not saying no, yeah, I think he should be a little fucking stingier with his time and attention.
Finally, Jericho also addressed the infamous please retire chants. When they were really at their peak, of course I'm always thinking, okay, I could make a t-shirt out of that. I could make a whole angle out of this. He noted the chants eventually faded away, recalling how he would use his microphone skills to shut them down. New York, please retire. I take the mic and say, I know why you want me to retire. Because you want me to go pitch for the New York Yankees so they could possibly win a World Series. But that's not going to happen. Boo! And they stop. That's delusional. Now finally here, Jericho tied it back to comedy, quoting Seinfeld. It's something that Seinfeld said years ago, or any great stand-up comedian. I've got the mic. You can't heckle somebody when the guy has the louder voice. So yeah, the please retire was a good one. That was fun. Is this whole thing just him trying to talk around?
Him trying to talk people out of doing it because it's not getting to him.
And it's absolutely getting to him.
Yes.
How delusional is Chris Jericho? The problem is his instincts, but beyond that, his desire for wrestling fans, especially smart fans, to see him a certain way. That's why he's out there dissecting this like Quentin Tarantino doing a director's commentary of one of his things. You know what I mean? He always wants people to think that he's a thinker. But when you look at the thoughts and the execution, you question if there's a brain.
So you're saying he's not as much of a thinker as he is a stinker?
He may be a stinker. Any final thoughts on Chris Jericho's role in AEW?
I wish I had some final thoughts on Chris Jericho's role in AEW. I wish we could put a nice bow on it and wrap it up. No, I mean, he's got to do something because Tony's got him for what, 7 more years? Wasn't that a 10-year contract 2 or 3 years ago? We said he'd be 64 or whatever by the time it's done. So he's got to keep fucking keep fresh on this thing for Tony.